The old Washington Wizards. Let's break down their season. Was it a good start? Were they bad? Was it fool's gold? Is Jordan Poole the GOAT? Michael Bolton?
Thanks, Josh. It's Michael Bolton here, and it's time for another episode of the Locked On Fantasy Basketball Podcast. Let's get to it.
Let's get to it, indeed.
You are Locked On Fantasy, your daily NBA fantasy podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello and welcome to the Locked On Fantasy Basketball Podcast, brought to you by Basketball Monster. My name is Josh Lloyd, and just like lifesavers, I'm about to get a whole lot more out of life. I'm also the lead fantasy analyst at basketballmonster.com, and today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use the code LOCKEDONNBA for, $20 off your first purchase? That sounds about right. Check out lockedondaily.com and sign up for the newsletters. We've got your favorite team and newsletter over there. And honestly, we've got a couple of days left, and there are some great gift vouchers that you can get: a Best Buy one, a Fanatics one, and a Game Time one. 3 people that sign up, it's free. You get newsletters into your inbox. You know what to do for me. You subscribe and you double bang and all of that stuff. We're talking Wizards. We're talking the Wizards veterans. We're doing the over 25s today. And then we'll do the under 25s later on. We're going to split them up so we can cover all 18 players on this roster for what they just did, what might happen next season, and where we can look at them from dynasty perspectives. It is International Guide Dog Day on the day that I'm recording this, which is the 29th of April that I'm recording this. Like I've said on the Jazz shows, I'm heading away for about a week, so there'll be some pre-recorded stuff that is coming out. We did yesterday just have the Damian Lillard Achilles injury, which we'll cover obviously a lot more when we get to the Bucks team review series, but that puts the Bucks very firmly in the what on earth are they going to do sort of category for next offseason. Do they decide they're going to, what do they do with Kuzma? What do they do with Brook Lopez? But more importantly, what do they do with Giannis? They've got no assets whatsoever outside of Giannis. That's it. That's all they've got. And they would need to move on from Giannis and hopefully get a bunch of picks back. But of course, when you trade Giannis to a team to get picks back, those picks from that team become way worse. And don't have control of their own picks for a period of time. And I don't. There's a lot opening up here. And we'll talk about the Bucks more when we get to the Bucks. When we get to the Bucks preview, like I said. Let's get in and just talk about a little bit here with the Wizards and some of the underlying numbers and free agency stuff that is coming up for this team heading into next season. We know how bad they were. We know there was a Bub Carrington buzzer-beating win that pushed them to 18 wins, to push them one ahead of the Jazz, meaning that now their draft pick is potentially a little worse. They finished 18-64. They weren't as aggressive as the Jazz in terms of sitting guys down during the season. We saw that. They did it towards the end, but they didn't do it in December or January or February. You could say that was ethical or not. It's up to you how you want to view that. But in the end, they don't get the best spot. Yes, they all have the same odds at number 1, but they can fall now to pick number 6. So they can be anywhere in the top 6 with that draft pick. They've also got pick number 18, which was an unbelievably shrewd bit of business, trading with the, honestly, at times, the idiots in the Memphis front office. All they did is absorb Marcus Smart, and they got a first-round pick back and gave up Johnny Davis and Marvin Bagley. Cool. And by the way, I believe Johnny Davis, terrible pick, obviously, previous front office. But when they received Bagley, they got draft picks for that. And they sent him out, and they get pick number 18 from the Grizzlies. I'll roast the Grizzlies on their show, don't worry. They've also got pick number 40 in this draft. So a really high pick, a solid enough pick at 18, and then pick 40, which, maybe we saw them do some really good work in the later half of the last draft, which is obviously a much worse draft. So we'll see what they're able to do. If we're going to talk free agency, there are 3 unrestricted guys on this team. I do have, one of them is Malcolm Brogdon, who just... We'll talk about him on this show, but there's no point for them to re-sign him. I don't know where he goes. I don't know if he is actually injured, and he was at points, but obviously the last 2 years, he's just sat it down the last 2-3 months of the year. That's happened. And I don't know where and here was a trade for him to go to the Clippers that was nixed because of injuries. So we'll see. I do have Jalen McDaniels on this list, but I put him there, but he was waived, I believe, right before the end of the season, so he's not currently on the roster, so he shouldn't be there. He's not on the roster, Jalen McDaniels. The other one there is JT Thor, the god of hammers, who was on the Cavs and then was picked up on waivers by the Wizards, but he does become unrestricted now after being in the system for a couple of years with multiple teams. Did he go to the... I can't even remember the JT Thor career law at the moment. He was on the Hornets for a bit, he was on the Cavs for a bit, and now he's in the Wizards. This is one of the ones that is almost guaranteed to happen. It's a player option. It's Khris Middleton. Yeah, Khris Middleton, who they got in the trade for Kuzma, who was treated as negative salary, who's obviously a better player than Kyle Kuzma. He's got a $34 million player option, which he will almost certainly exercise. Sorry. He won't exercise. It's always, the wording around that is tough. If you exercise the player option, that means you're exercising it to become a free agent. He won't do that. He'll pick up his option to continue the contract for one more year. But there are always ways that maybe he declines it and signs for a 3-year, $45 million contract, giving him more guaranteed money, less money per year, but understand that his body is... Who knows? I would expect that he picks that up, because nobody is paying him $34 million a year anymore. And when he does play, he still can be good, but his body can't do that. And he's going to be one of those players that if he does remain in Washington, it's going to screw up a lot of stuff, I think, for the fantasy value of guys, because he'll be good enough to be better than all those other players, but he'll be sort of in and out like a hyper Brogdon, basically. A way better player than Brogdon, and someone who'll be more available than Brogdon, but how often will he be there? That's going to be a really frustrating scenario. So, in the end, if we want to look at the Wizards and their fantasy value, we want Middleton out of there, honestly. We've got 4 guys with non-guarantees on their deal. Richaun Holmes is one of them. Holmes was a weird contract situation where he had a non-guarantee, then he had a player option, he declined it, and he re-signed it to come back at the same number that gave extra flexibility, because this front office is very, very smart. Usually, nearly every time they make smart moves, and a lot of their contractual stuff was very smart from them. He's got a contract, a $13 million contract, but only $250,000 of that is guaranteed. So I would say almost zero chance that the Wizards are keeping Richaun Holmes around because they think he is worth $13 million. But they could, because then $13 million becomes salary matching in trades. Anthony Gill has $0 guaranteed on his contract. I do not know how this man remains in the NBA. I have absolutely no idea whatsoever, so we'll see what happens there. Justin Champagnie was converted from a 2-way contract, and his next 2 seasons are both fully non-guaranteed. They are bargain contracts, and there is zero shot that he is not, that contract does not get guaranteed. That is, without any question, that will be guaranteed. And then Colby Jones came over in that Marcus Smart, Marvin Bagley, Johnny Davis deal. He's got $2.2 million non-guaranteed as well. Then he's got a team option after that. He will almost certainly be back. Also, the last one to look at there is Tristan Vukcevic, who's a restricted free agent coming off a 2-way contract. I would... The restricted deal on that is weird. Restricted free agency for 2-way contracts is, if you match deals, you just end up they come back to another 2-way. I don't think that'll be the case. I think that they could be moving on from Gill and from Holmes, and Vukcevic is just going to get a 3 or 4 year full contract. I'm very certain of that. But just for completeness sake, Vukcevic is a restricted free agent. Let's go in now and just cover off the first veteran player on this team. And it is your mate. It is Jordan Poole, who I thought, obviously, was going to be much better than he was in year 1. I was able to not necessarily double down, but understanding why things went wrong or why I thought they would be better. All those ingredients sort of remained for him to do it to be better, and he was. The interesting thing for me here with Poole is he still only played 29 minutes a game. Kuzma being out helped him. Him being better than Kuzma helped him. But he still only played 29 minutes. And I do believe we're going to have the removal of Brogdon out of this rotation. We're still going to have the guys there like Carrington and George, and then whatever happens with that draft pick. But Poole is still yucky. He's 26, man. He's not old. And I thought that, and every report, for as much as people want to clown on Jordan Poole, and I understand why people do it, I understand why that they clown on him. I think a lot of it is a bit unjustified. He does become an easy target. But every report is that he has been really awesome as a teammate. Like, really, really taking on a role that is usually reserved from a 29 to 32-year-old veteran player, and he's 25, 26. While taking a lot of shots, but he shot 38% from 3. He averaged 4.5 assists. He sort of played point guard and off ball. His post-deadline wasn't as good as his pre-deadline. He was 36th pre and 56th post. A lot of the early season success was based on defensive stats which couldn't hold, but he still got 1.3 steals. He averaged 20 points a game. Where you drafted Jordan Poole was late in drafts. It was a huge W, like a massive W. You can see on those, which I did fix from the Utah one, the drip and the DPM deltas, which are, I think, some interesting dynasty-type indicator stuff. It's not guaranteed, of course, but big improvements in the forward projection of his numbers. More so on drip than on DPM, but still really strong stuff. And one thing that I find interesting here, like he had 93rd percentile offensive load and 91st in passing creation, so he was passing quite a bit, and the assist numbers aren't high, but he was doing a lot of it. It helps when your teammates are better that they hit shots. But he wasn't on ball all that much, 84th percentile. And the other interesting part, 34th percentile deflections, which should give you some pause about where his steal and block numbers go, because he wasn't contesting a lot of shots, he wasn't deflecting a lot of balls, but he still got, and especially early on, a lot of blocks and a lot of steals, and they did fall away. So we watched that, but it wasn't that Jordan Poole was out there putting up these numbers because he was just on the ball the entire time. Not true. So when you look at that and go, yeah, but when the team gets better, Poole will be way worse. And that's possible. That is possible. But he wasn't out there being a bad team merchant. 30 usage is high, but it makes sense. The assists could rise. The efficiency was pretty good. It could be better. I wouldn't say that Poole is done in Washington or anything like that. I wouldn't say that that was his best opportunity. I wouldn't say they'd just be dying to get off of him. I think he's actually fine to be a part of what they're trying to build. He is only 26. So he's an interesting player that, again, there is a lot of hatred for. But I think that when you view his season, a lot of people who looked at him as a player from this last season, you would say, yeah, he just took millions of dumb shots, and of course he was able to do that on the Wizards, and I don't believe that was true. I think he was way more structured this season. There's always going to be dumb stuff. I thought he was more efficient, and I thought he was good. Wasn't great. I thought he was good. And not that he's a key piece of a rebuild at all, but absolutely he can be a part of, in 3-4 years' time, whether he's traded off or as these guys grow. There is a little bit of time here for some useful production, I think. We've got more of these guys to talk about, but today's episode is brought to you by a new sponsor. It is Car Gurus. When you're shopping for a car, it should be exciting. Hey, I'm getting a new car. This is so cool. But often, it can be exhausting. There's confusing prices. There's hidden fees. It can all be overwhelming. And Car Gurus is something that can help you cut away all that nonsense so that you can get the best deals with the full confidence. They've got over 4 million listings. Car Gurus has more new and used cars than any other major online marketplace in the US. They verify the dealers. They provide real price analysis. And they give you the tools and the data that you need to make the right choice. The price drop alerts they got on there as well. You can set the sort of car that you're interested in and look at the different prices, and then you'll get a notification saying, hey, the car that you want is now within your budget. Plus in-depth vehicle details as well. You can get the peace of mind before stepping onto any lot. It's no wonder that similar web estimated traffic data shows Car Gurus is the #1 most visited car shopping site. So buy or sell your next car today with Car Gurus at cargurus.com. Go to cargurus.com to make sure your big deal is the best deal. That is cargurus.com, cargurus.com. Today's episode is also brought to you by Wayfair, and with spring in the air, spring is springing and sprunging, that means it is home project season. Whether you're refreshing a room or you might be doing a bulk renovation, a big renovation, the outdoors, indoors, whatever it is, bathrooms, bedrooms, Wayfair is the best kept secret for all things home improvement. You might do small updates, you might be just mixing and matching the handles. The cabinet hardware is a better fancy way to say handles, but they're the same thing. Major upgrades you might be doing, vanities, tiling, showers, basins, outdoor furniture, it's all there. You can upgrade your kitchen on Wayfair. You can upgrade your bathroom. You can upgrade your lounge room, get a new sofa. Do you say sofa or couch? I usually say couch, but either one. They've got top brands like GE and Moen at great prices too, and Wayfair makes home improvement easy. So get started at wayfair.com. That is WAYFAIR.com. Wayfair, every style and every home. Okay, let's get back into talking about these Washington Wizards, the veterans, the older players, and trying to figure out what we can make of them as we move forward. Khris Middleton is a tough guy to figure out. As per usual, he didn't start the season on time with... Actually, you know what? I don't even know anymore. Was it ankles? I think it was ankles. He had surgery on both ankles. In the past, it has been a wrist. And in the past, it has been his knee. Now it's ankles. He ended up playing just 37 games and averaging just 23 minutes. He's 34. 34. Yet still, in 23 minutes, he was a top 150 player in category leagues and in points leagues. He was 129th before the deadline, 194th in Washington, which I think most people thought he probably was a little bit better in Washington, but he wasn't. He was worse. He averaged 12 points with 4 rebounds and 4 assists. He's shot 48 and 86 with 36 from 3. All really, really strong numbers. His body just can't do it anymore. You'll notice that some of the forward-looking stuff like drip and DPM saw big declines in his forward projection. He's 34. He's banged up. He is not the same player anymore. His deflection numbers were fine, sort of mid-pack. His offensive load was pretty okay. His passing volume was pretty solid. He's sort of the same guy that he always was, just pulled back to 70%. What I said earlier about him being frustrated next season, he will be. Because he can play the 2, he plays the 3, sometimes the 4, probably not as much anymore. But they got a number of players in those spots, and they might get even more coming in the draft. And you're never going to know if this guy's going to be available or not. Or is he going to start because of longevity, because of experience, and play 27 minutes a night? Or does he do what he did after the deadline, playing 23 minutes a night? We're going to talk about it in the next show, the value of young guys like a Keyshawn George, for example. But Keyshawn George was blocked by Kyle Kuzma a lot of this season. He could be blocked by Khris Middleton, incredibly easily. And how Brian Keefe and the front office manage Middleton is going to be really intriguing. Now, obviously, we do not touch him in any sort of redraft format, 10 or 12 elite teams. 14 teams, maybe. But you can't trust him. This team is probably going to be bad again, and he's going to be spotty in terms of availability, and even if he remains on this team. And he's 34. It is only going to get worse in terms of per minute production and health. So there are a lot of concerns. His big thing is going to be just screwing it up for others. So just pay attention to that. It was a relatively popular idea at the beginning of this last season, and we're going to talk about this man in a second, to hey, I'm going to draft Malcolm Brogdon. He's still going to be good, and he's going to play these minutes, and yeah, he's on this team, and of course they'll give him this opportunity. That's why they brought him in. I had many arguments with Wizards people or even other fantasy people playing. They were talking about how Brogdon was going to start because, of course, that's why they traded for him. No, this team is not trading for these guys because they want to give them big roles. And while Middleton is going to get minutes, and Brogdon was sort of in and out of roles, they're not the priority. They're there for their peripherals, and it's hard to see how it all works for him. Why would he play 30 minutes? His body can't handle it. They don't need him to. It could be a bit of an interesting season where it spikes early for Middleton, and then it does fall away. But overall, I think we get the good sense of Middleton's career, I'll say, being over. He's not getting back to those levels. He's never playing 33 minutes a night again, would be my guess. And we just have, the body is done. That is part of why he was salary dumped. Part of it was salary and apron stuff. And he still can be good. It's just going to be very sporadic. Speaking of sporadic, this is the guy, Malcolm Brogdon. Bro was on that Trey Mann injury reporting diet. Whereas he got hurt, and then everyone's just like, no, we're good. I'm not telling you. We're never going to mention this man ever again. Yeah, he did suffer some injuries. He does this all the time. He actually came back way too early from some hamstring injuries early in the season. Amazingly, this man is 2 years younger than Khris Middleton. It feels like he's 40 years old. He's 32, Malcolm Brogdon. He had a 25 usage. He played 24 minutes. He played 24 games total. And he was not very good in those minutes of those games. And he was way worse post-deadline. He barely played. He played 4 games or something post-deadline. I don't think he played a single game in March or April. Shout out Jeremy Grant. He averaged 24 fantasy points a game. 13, 4, and 4. Half a steal is gross. He used to be a very, very good three-point shooter. He shot 29% from 3. His season in Boston 2 years ago, he was really good. He won 6th Man of the Year, and then it just has never come back. And at his age, which is not super old, but at his age and his body and where we're at, we have no faith that this man can even hold a 28-minute-a-night role. Drip and DPM really just were yeah, you are done. You are a huge drop as a player. Your career is down in the toilet at this point. He was 93rd percentile in being on ball, which is, again, putting these numbers up, and that's a criticism I'd have of the Wizards. Why was this man prioritized to be running things. And sometimes it's not always the coaching staff. It's like he gets on the court and he's like, I'm Malcolm Brogdon. And here I am. Passing volume, like not as high as Jordan Poole. What even is he at this point? Is he a point guard? Not really. Is he a shooting guard? Not really. I don't really know where he fits. He doesn't defend anywhere near the level he did. He, much like Khris Middleton, he's just busted. He's done. But he is now a free agent. And you could see him going to a better team. Like, the Clippers are just a name that comes to mind. Being the backup point guard there, playing 21 minutes a night. They did nix the original trade for him because of injuries. But you can't rely upon him. He's never going to be a 30-minute-a-night guy. Will he go back and sign with another bad team? Play 30 minutes a night? Play 30 games for the season, sit down the last 3 months, and go do whatever? I don't know. I don't think we need to talk a lot about Brogdon. I don't think we need to get sucked into anything that he does heading into the offseason or where he goes or what they do. He is a guy whose body is not reliable. The shooting numbers for him just aren't there. I think he's had like one good shooting season out of his last 5. That was that one in Boston, and then everything else has been really quite poor. He doesn't defend anymore. He just sort of goes through the motions, which for a guy that was pretty solid for periods of time, he's been a guy that's been quite variable, Malcolm Brogdon, in his level of production. Like, now you're shooting 40%, Brogo. Now you're shooting 32%. And now you're running as a 7-assist point guard. And now you're getting 2 steals. But now it's 3 assists. And now it's 1 steal. And now you don't defend anymore. And now you're too big and small and hurt. Like, it's all over the shop. So Brogdon's a hard one to figure out long term. But at this age, with these injuries, with this track record, with this shooting drop, it's done for him. I'm pretty confident that as a high level or even solid level contributor, it's not happening for him again. I think that we could almost port that idea onto the next player, and we'll get to him in a second. It's Marcus Smart. But today's episode is also brought to you by the Game Time app. The NBA playoffs, the NHL playoffs, they're rolling. And getting to an NBA playoff game, it's exciting. It's electric. The atmosphere is there. The basketball is high level. You are seeing unbelievable stuff happen every moment. And getting there with Game Time is the best way to do it. Game Time makes it fast and easy to get playoff tickets even when the demand is sky high. The prices on the app actually go down as tip-off gets closer, and the last-minute deals can save you up to 60%. Those last-minute deals are really what you want to be focusing on, because you might be sitting there and you're in a city, there's a playoff game, and you go, I couldn't get the ticket, or whatever. Just check on the app. Go 2 hours before, an hour before, go, hang on. There's some cheaper tickets here. I want to get in there. I want to see what's going to go on in this Game 7 or Game 6 or series clinching potential. Get to it with the Game Time app and the last-minute deals. So take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use the code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create the account and use the code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last-minute tickets. Lowest price guaranteed. Okay, we'll get into talking about more of these Washington Wizards vets. And like I said, teased already, let's go to Marcus Smart because, he was quite bad for Memphis. He got injured again. And then they made a horrendous... Look, as bad as he was, from the levels he's been at in the past, it was a horrendous mistake from Memphis. And honestly, it cost them a lot, moving on from him in the manner they did. But he is also not very good. He's still only 31, but the cliff has basically been reached for Smart. He ended up 241st in category leagues. He ended up 238th in points leagues. It wasn't like any better in Washington. He barely played down the stretch, limited minutes. He ended up with just 20 minutes a night and 22 usage. 9 points, 3 assists, shot 35 from 3, but only 39 overall from the field. 1 steal a game. And he was actually one of the biggest decliners, according to advanced stuff like Drip and DPM. 8th percentile on Darko and 1st percentile in terms of how bad they were or how much negative change there was. Like, just one of the biggest drop-offs in the entire league, Marcus Smart. His deflection number still really high. 91st percentile in terms of getting deflections. And his steal numbers are pretty good for 20 minutes a night. But that's really what he is. He still flops like crazy. The shot has gone. He can't be a point guard anymore. He's still got the size. He can still guard in other spots. But that elite level that he had is just not coming back, I don't think. And if we're viewing what Marcus Smart does from a dynasty perspective, he's never going to be a 30-minute-a-night player again. He's just another complicating factor on this Wizards team that's going to have Poole and is going to have Smart and maybe has Middleton and probably won't have Brogdon, but then we'll have Carrington and then we'll have draft picks. And there's just a lot of confusion around all of these guys. So we can look at a lot of players guys I'm not even going to cover on this show, like Bilal, Champagny, like, they're all still there. Everyone is still there. And it's easy to trade for Marcus Smart and Khris Middleton at the deadline and play them a couple of games and then sit them down. You can't do that on October the 20th. If they're there, they're playing. And that's going to make it rocky for a lot of different guys unless we get a lot of movement in the offseason, which we definitely could. We could get a lot of movement from this team. They should be looking at movement, but there's a lot of clogging type veterans that are still in this team that can provide little bits and pieces. But if their role expands, it hurts everyone else. And if their role expands, they're still not going to be good enough to be useful for us. And that's going to be a frustrating thing, I think. Let's go to, I wonder if you know who this is. You maybe do. One of the most overrated players in the entire NBA. It's Corey Kispert. I hated when they drafted him. I have not liked really anything I've seen from Corey Kispert on an NBA court. Yes, is some of this fueled by when I see people talking about, man, you got to free Kispert, get him out of there, get him to a real team? No, he is the reason they are bad. Well, no, he's not. He's not the reason. He is one of the reasons. He is not getting done dirty. When you can't get 32 minutes a night on this Wizards team, the reason is because you're bad. You don't need to be saved and put onto a different team. You are bad. As simple as that for me. A season-ending surgery again for him on his thumb. On his thumb this season. In previous seasons, he's had some silly season moments, some March and April numbers. You know why? Because everybody else was out. And then when the team gets healthy, he plays 24 minutes a night and does nothing. And we actually, getting the look at Kispert's minutes this season and his production is the production of Corey Kispert without the inflated March, April nonsense that boosted his production. 26 minutes a night, 18 usage. He was 275th in category leagues. He's drip delta, first percentile. Yeah, he was bad. He was also a negative on Darko. His numbers all dropped. Look at that, 39% offensive load, 39th percentile. He doesn't have the ball. He doesn't get deflections. He doesn't contest. He doesn't play on ball. He doesn't pass. His shooting was at 36%. In the past, he's been a good shooter, but we're not talking Luke Kennard. We're not talking dropping 45% shooting seasons every year. He's like 45 overall, like 1 assist, 3 rebounds. Just a bad player who gets propped up as a good player who just needs an opportunity. That's not how it works. He's already 26, and I have no faith in Corey Kispert. I haven't ever. I don't think that he's ever going to be. He's a incredibly unwell-rounded player who would need to be on. The thing is, usually this sort of player go, if he's on a really bad team and he gets high usage, he'll have these moments of being 22 points a game with good threes, and he'd be great for that period of time. He's on a bad team. The situation doesn't get better than playing for the Wizards. And we still get nothing. That's a pretty big red flag. Could he go to a good team, play 15 minutes off the bench, and average 8 points with 2 threes? Sure. Would anybody really care? Not really. Not really. And I know it feels overly harsh on Kispert, but I don't know. It's just one of those guys where there's just too many weird narratives around what he could be or what he is or why isn't he doing this. The reason is he's not good. To me, that is relatively simple. He's not good. He played 61 games. So it's not even like he played 20 games and had the surgery. He played 61. He played 26 minutes on this team. 26 minutes. 18 usage. What exactly is it that he does here? Nothing is the answer. Richaun Holmes was dead and buried and then came out after Jonas Valanciunas was traded and had a few little moments where you go, maybe there's something there. But bro, he's 32. He's got that non-guarantee on his contract. He averaged 7 and 6. Part of his value as a fantasy player is look at those percentages. 83 from the line, 65 from the field. He was 240th in category leagues. He played just 31 games. Some of that was injury, but he was also just out of the rotation. But you'll notice, post-deadline, Valanciunas was gone. 147th ranked player. What I find interesting is the way that Darko and Drip view him. Darko said he's one of the bigger improvers this season, and I actually agree with that because he was pretty bad in previous seasons. And I thought this season, when he was out there, I go, okay, you're not dreadful. But Drip looks at him and says 12th percentile in improvement, so just he got worse. Or his forward projection got worse, which I can also understand that because he's 32. He's not going to be a starting center or a backup center in the NBA moving forward. He's a low-volume player who's not a good shot blocker, although 0.7 blocks in 17 minutes is okay. He's a high-efficiency finisher who's lost athleticism. and had some really good moments in his career. But, like, what are we doing with this guy? Is he going to... The only reason he stays on this team is they guarantee the contract in order for it to be a trade chip, which we thought they might be doing this season, and they didn't trade him, and he still didn't play. So I just have no hopes for him. It was a nice little run, and we remember if he gets starting opportunities, that we at least cast an eye and go, oh, okay, for now. We look at it for now. I think that's the best way of approaching that. This man, I'm going to give you just 5 seconds on him. It's Anthony Gill. Why is he in the NBA? He did play some games. Probably the most forgettable player in the entire... Sorry to this man. Sorry to his family. Well done for getting an NBA career. He played 8 minutes a game. He's 33 years of age. He averaged 2 points. He's the 507th ranked player in points and 515th in category leagues. Like that's out of 570 guys. What do you want me to tell you? He shouldn't be playing in the league. He shouldn't be on a team next season. He must be one of the greatest blokes of all time, and I think he might be, but that's about it. The next player I want to talk about is someone that you may have forgotten about. And this is going to lead you into the second part of the Wizards show. Because you know that Saddiq Bey, the depressed penis, he plays for the Wizards. Now, he played 0 minutes this season coming off a torn ACL. They teased that maybe he would be available when he was doing some practice, but he didn't play a single second. They signed him to a 3-year contract that was decent money. And he is going to be on this team, trades excluded, ready to go. So why is he important to bring up? Is he a good player? No, not at all. He's not a good player. He is a guy, again, that people think is good, that needs to be put in the very specific and perfect situation in order to put up numbers which resemble something good, but don't happen. Why is he important? Because you, and me, honestly, forgot it. I was doing all these Wizards going, oh my God, this guy's on the roster. Because he doesn't come up, because he didn't play a second. I know you know the answer to this, but I'm teasing it out. Why is he important? Because he's going to cock block your favorite players. He's going to be there, potentially taking minutes from Keyshawn George. He's going to be there, maybe getting in the way of Alex Sarr. He's going to be there, maybe annoying Bilal Coulibaly or Justin Champagny or whatever they pick at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. He's going to be playing 27 minutes a night and have a couple of good scoring games. And he probably averages 12 points with 1.5 threes and 4 rebounds and 1 assist. And he's just going to be bad. And like having Middleton there, like having Smart there, like maybe having Holmes there, they're just going to get in the way. So, Saddiq Bey exists. He does exist. That is a thing that he does. And he will be back and he will be playing. And he is still only 25. So he is still young. Right? He is still young. He is the same age as Corey Kispert. They're both mediocre. But all of these guys are still there. So while this roster is not good, while this team is bad, and while they've got some really interesting young players, there's just a lot happening. There are a lot of guys on this team that are going to create problems in terms of getting interest in your favorite guys. And that is the old guys section for the Wizards. We're going to come back with the next show and talk about Bilal. We're going to talk about Alex Sarr. We're going to talk about Carrington, George, AJ Johnson, Justin Champagny, and 25 minutes on JT Thor as well. So be ready for that. In the meantime, the way you find out about it is you sub. Hit it. Guys, we are done here. Thank you so much for listening, everyone. See ya.